Hello and welcome to part 2 of my language learning FAQs. These are questions that are asked on the forum, which I'm the administrator of, and you're welcome to join and ask any questions you would like in that forum. But for now, let's move on to part 2 and the questions that came up frequently regarding the length of time it takes to learn languages. So the questions I'm going to be looking at today are: how quickly is someone able to speak a new language? How long does it take to be fluent? What are these B2s and C1s that everyone talks about? How fast can you learn an unrelated language, and how fast can you learn a related language? Let's start with: how quickly is someone able to speak a new language? Well, the first thing you need to worry about is what level you're targeting, because if you're just looking to be a sort of tourist level, it won't take you long at all. However, regardless of what level you are looking at, commitment is the key. You need to commit to working with the language and studying every single day. You should probably think in terms of the hours that you've committed to study rather than the time that is going to pass. So if you're only studying a half an hour every day, someone who is studying 5 hours every day will get to a higher level than you quicker, simply because they've committed to putting in more time. Now, if we were just talking about speaking a new language, speaking is relatively easy, comprehension is difficult, and comprehension should be the thing that you're targeting. It's fine to go and ask someone where the hotel that you're going to be staying is, but if you don't understand the answer, knowing how to say the question is basically useless. Now, hundreds of hours of listening will improve your speaking significantly, and that is because you will begin to understand the speed and the tone and the manner and the method that native speakers use when they're speaking in their native language. This is also known as porosity. So you will understand the porosity of the language, and it will help you improve your speaking when you speak in that language. So we've covered how long to speak a new language, but how long does it take to be fluent? So fluency is a very problematic word. As I spoke about in my last video, my last FAQ video, fluency is very hard to define, and it's even difficult for linguists to define it. And so various people have come up with different organizational ways to talk about language fluency. In Europe, the most popular one is the CEFL levels, and they are a much better measure of your fluency. Now, how long does it take to become fluent, or at one of the higher CEFR levels like B2 or C1? Well, it depends on the commitment you're going to make and how close the language is to your own language. So later we'll talk about related languages and unrelated languages, but a related language, if you are a French speaker, might be Spanish or Italian, because they're Romance languages, they're related to your language, and they're straightforward from your point of view because they're more closely related to your language. Unrelated languages would be, for example, an English speaker who is learning Mandarin or Korean, because there's not a lot of cognates, and those languages are further from your language. And they also involve a different alphabet and writing system. Now, if you are an extremely organized person, with loads of free time and great discipline, it isn't going to take you more than a year or two, depending on how related the language is to your native language and how much material you have to study and time you use to study. So let's move on to these B2, C1 things that I've been talking about. So CEFR organizes language proficiency into different levels, A1 through C2. And as you can see here, they expand in comprehension and ability. So A1 and A2 is a basic user, B1, B2 is an independent user, and an advanced user of the language is C1 or C2. So another linked question, how fast can you learn an unrelated language? So this depends on a number of factors. Firstly, how distant is this language from your native language? Are you required to learn a new writing system? Do you need to be literate? In other words, can you read and write, or just be able to speak the language? Because if you have a new writing system, that may be difficult and take a lot more time to learn. Also, how much time you spend is very important, because obviously the more time you spend on it each day, the easier it will be to learn and the quicker you will be able to learn it. So an estimate of doing 4 hours study a day for a completely unrelated language, like for example, an English person learning Mandarin or Korean or Russian, for 4 hours a day, you could manage it within 2 years. Now, this is assuming a sort of a B2 or C1 level is your target. Obviously, if your target is less than that, it wouldn't take as long. If your target is C2, it might well take you many more years after that. Now, commitment, again, is the key. You need to do it every day, and you need to be committed to it, and you need to do a long period of study each day. So the last question is, how fast can you learn a related language? Now, remember, a related language is something that's close to your own native tongue. Right? So for example, an English speaker learning French or a French speaker learning Italian, cognates are your friends. Now a cognate is a word that is basically the same in your native language and in the foreign language that your target language that you're learning. So cognates are definitely your friend because you effectively already know this word. You don't have to learn it because that word is already part of your vocabulary in your native tongue. However, there are things called false friends, which actually are different, although they look the same, spelled the same, perhaps said the same. They actually have a different meaning in the target language than in your own native language. So be careful of false friends. Now, the FSI, or Foreign Service Institute in the United States, train diplomats and people who work in embassies to speak foreign languages, and they feel that a related language should take about 10 months, which breaks down into 1,100 class hours and about 900 additional hours of homework and individual study. So about 2,000 hours total commitment to get to a good level. Again, we're probably talking B2 level here, a good level in that target language. So where do you go from here if you want more information? You can always visit the forum. The link is on the screen here, forum.language-learners.org. If you wanted to calculate how long it might take you to learn a different language, somebody on autolingual.com has actually done a study time calculator using some of the FSI rules and estimates for language learning. They also take into account things such as your motivation to learn and your time that you want to spend and your commitment, etc. And that will give you a reasonably accurate estimate of how long it might take you to learn your target language. Well, that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed and learned something from this video. And as always, please subscribe if you can, and let other people know about the videos if you like them, because that always helps. And thank you very much.